I think it's been a good balance, in fairness. Like, if I'm reflecting on the last 3 days, I think there's been a really good balance of tough pins and then pins that you can get at.
Well, Rory McIlroy was able to fire at those pins early and get himself back in the tournament with a 66 today. Scottie Scheffler maybe shot himself out of the tournament with a 71. He's 1 under par total, and they're all chasing a man with a 2-shot lead who has never been this close to being a major champion before, but you can say that about a lot of this leaderboard. Going into the final round of the PGA Championship, our third time doing this, updating bets for Sunday. Rick Gehman joining Chris Breece and Jimmy Reinman from the PGA Tour. Guys, I said yesterday that Scottie would be plus 175 after round 3. I just missed it by a 0. He's about 11 to 1. 17 to 1. I did say we'd have about 4 players on yesterday's board that you'd see on today's board. I'm going to let you talk. I'm going to look that up. Jimmy, craziness. I love the fact that literally it feels like almost anybody under par can win this thing still.
Yeah, guys, I'm really glad that we just really sorted out this leaderboard today. We were really able to separate and just kind of establish talent. No, I mean, what a sight it was out there, especially with that morning wave. I mean, we talked about, okay, the winds are going to soften up, and they did in the morning, and then it just came right back. We had gusts up to 30 miles per hour again this afternoon. All those guys that seemingly, if you started the day over par, you basically got like a 3-shot advantage on the guys that had to go out back there in the afternoon. So we saw tons of movement. We had guys popping out of the casket like the Undertaker. I forgot Martin Keimer was in this tournament. I forgot Ben Griffin was in this tournament. Justin Rose doing Justin Rose things. Cam Smith. That's what a sight. Who would have thought about that? So we're basically, when I was writing up stuff today, it feels like I'm writing up after round 1 with how much is still in front of us, even though we just have 18 holes left here.
Yeah, you have to remember that we had everybody going off the first tee over 7 hours worth of tee time, something like that. So when you get those longer distribution of tee times, you statistically, you get a wider range of scores because of exactly what Jimmy is talking about. You get changes in weather, the greens bake out, there's a lot more foot traffic, things of that nature. And we saw all of that. So there were moments in time of this tournament where, 7 guys were tied for first and maybe 6 of them were past major champions. And Rory McIlroy's posting 3 under par. He's the first in there. And just like craziness is happening. And of course, the guy at the top of the leaderboard with a 2-shot lead is Alex Smalley, just as we all suspect.
I looked it up, like I said, when you guys were talking, and there are 2 players on this board in the top 10 who were on this board yesterday. It's Alex Smalley and it's Maverick McNeely. So it just goes to show you almost anybody who's in the first 2 pages of the leaderboard can win this thing. Let's start with the guy who I think everyone's going to be scared to look at tomorrow, and Rory McIlroy, Jimmy, because to me it feels like this is his golf tournament to lose, the way he fought back after Thursday's very poor finish. Lo and behold, here is Rory, albeit it's 3 shots off of Alex Smalley, but it's not insurmountable. I'm a little surprised that Rory's odds are as high as they are, but there's a big range of players on the board. I think it's Rory's to win.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of right there with you, Chris. I mean, after that 74 on Thursday, I mentioned him in my Draws and Fades article. He was sitting around 90 to 1. Like callers, call into the show if you're holding that Rory McIlroy 90 to 1 ticket. We would like to speak to you. We'll get you on the line. But yeah, I mean, 770, that feels like for a guy up there who has the most prestige, who's done this, who's looking for that calendar slam. He played so strongly today over the last 2 days. He flipped his entire narrative. Yesterday, he was kind of earlier in the week, he was complaining about the pin locations. And then today in his press conference, he's saying, oh, it's actually, pretty balanced. Wow, his tune is able to change pretty quickly once he posts a 66. But he played really strong today. I loved the way that him and Brooks, they really tried to play fast and make sure they got their round in, because Rory said that he could feel those winds coming in. And you just look at how packed it is and the guys in front of him, and it's hard to look past Rory, especially at 8-1. I mean, well, I don't remember what were his odds kind of to start the week. We're probably right back in there at almost his pre-tournament odds.
It was 8-1, yeah.
Yeah, we're right back at pretty much his pre-tournament odds. And if you could, tell me, okay, 18 holes, Rory's down, he's within striking range, and you're getting his pre-tournament odds, that's something I'm probably going to sign up with the way he's playing every single time.
It's certainly a fair number, guys. I don't know if it's the first number I'm sprinting to. You know, it is still a 3-shot lead. It is still a situation where you've got Ludwig Oberg ahead of Rory. You've got John Rahm ahead of Rory. You've got a bunch of guys who want to play spoiler. You also have Xander Schauffele, who's tied with Rory McIlroy on this leaderboard. So I don't know if it's anybody's tournament to win, but I do think that Rory McIlroy displayed the one big advantage that he has on the rest of the field. He displayed that in the third round, and that's the driver. I mean, he drove the green on a 397-yard R4, the sixth. I mean, it is a skill that he has where he gained a stroke and a half off the tee in round 2, nearly 2 in round 3. If he drives it at all like that in the final round, he's going to give himself a really solid floor. You make a couple putts, maybe things go right. It's very easy, or it's a lot easier for him to go out and shoot that 65 than many of his peers. But I still think there's a Rahm problem. I still think there's a Ludwig problem. There's just a lot of things that are going to have to go right for whoever wins this golf tour.
Do we think there's an Alex Smalley problem? Are we actually concerned about this?
I'm the biggest Alex Smalley fan in the world, right? I've invested in Alex Smalley more than anybody.
However,
I still don't think he's a problem.
Here's what I think.
You still don't think he's a problem. Okay.
Here's what I think the better should do. If you don't want to do Rory because of the number and too many guys around him, I think you should do less units on somebody with a better value in terms of number. If you want to talk about Nick Taylor at almost 16-1, if you want to talk about Xander at 12-1, because I think the issue with this leaderboard, and we can talk about Patrick Reed too, I know, Jimmy, you want to. The issue with this leaderboard is that outside of maybe John Rahm, nobody on this board is going to have the moxie coming down the stretch that Rory will have and have the nerve to deal with it. Because I still am not convinced Xander Schauffele is back to what he was a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think he's still getting there and doesn't have that game to lean on swing after swing. There's nobody here that is going to have the nerve to go down the stretch. Maybe John Rahm outside of Rory is my issue, Rick.
Lot of baggage up there.
What's that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say a lot of baggage up there with those big names. With
even Ludwig
Rahm,
is baggage.
Yeah, no, Ludwig was pre-tournament. I wrote Ludwig as my guy with the most at stake, kind of coming into this week in terms of like, all right, obviously he's still young, he's got his whole career in front of him, but it's like, okay, man, we kind of need to see it. Like, there's no reason we shouldn't be kind of at least contending on Sunday. And now he's set up to contend on Sunday, but we need to kind of see him. At least I would really like to see him fight his way into and really be a factor down the stretch. And of course, Rahm, tons of off the course stuff going on, trying to get his mind right. You have to wonder what kind of mental state he's in, a lot to prove. So it'd be nice to see where he's at, if he's able to contend on Sunday. Xander Schauffele, like you mentioned, really feel good about touting a top 5 for him last night. I feel like that's sitting in a good spot. But yeah, I don't know if he's quite able to do it on Sunday. But where were you thinking, Rick?
I might just be a sucker for Ludwig, but I look at this kind of from a more glass half full perspective, and I say, okay, this is major championship number 10. He's already contended a bunch. He's got a handful of top 15s. He, yes, punted away the Players' Championship, but that's a privilege to be able to be in the position to punt away a Players' Championship, right? Is that you were there in the mix. And what I like most about Ludwig is, at least this week, he's been very on brand. The only mistakes that I've really seen him make are those 5-footers that give him trouble and have always given him trouble. And to me, that is a better sign than him putting outside of his mind or like doing things that are just completely out of his DNA. From tee to green, he is just far superior than a lot of his peers, especially on this golf course. And he's just doing the one thing that he always does wrong. So I don't really see it as much of a problem. And it's always hard to break through for your first one until you break through for your first one. So I'm excited to see how he, again, kind of reacts to the moment on Sunday.
Well, that's the whole thing.
No water out here for him to find.
There you go. Yeah.
Good point. Flashback to the Players. That's the thing about it, Rick, is the fact that everybody who wins a major has to do it their first time. Even if you win 6 like Rory has, you have to win that first major. Just my issue with Ludwig right now, yes, he's had the experience and he's been there and he's been close. I'm just looking at these players all around him, above him, below him, with him, who have done it and who have proven they can and will do it again is my issue with Ludwig. Look, I have him on my fantasy team. I think he's going to stay in the top 5. I don't see it happening if his odds are shorter than Rory McIlroy's right now at 6-1. I'd rather go with 2 or 3 other names on this board.
You're not going to you don't have to convince me that it's going to be hard for somebody, right? Like, I think it's going to be hard for everybody, right? I think it's going to be hard for John Rahm. Jimmy laid out a scenario in which he's got kind of a lot to play for. Getting another like him going from 2 majors to 3 majors, just like completely raises you to a different echelon, and you wonder where he is at mentally. And like, it's not going to be easy for any of these guys. So point well taken. I'm just not convinced that anybody's in the greatest spot to close this thing out.
You know, if it does go to a playoff with how packed it is, everything goes out the window. Give me Nick Taylor. Give me Nick Taylor. If this thing goes to a playoff, I am throwing everything out the way. I don't care what his odds are.
Playoff champion for sure. Oh, we're going to get to prop bets, finishing positions. If you want to make some serious coin, if you got some juicy odds of guys who could vault up that leaderboard on Sunday, like we saw a lot of guys on Saturday. But let's talk about Patrick Reed to win this golf tournament first, because is he the one person that we're not really talking about right now, we, the general golf betting public, where Patrick Reed feels like, oh, he's just a Masters guy. You know, he plays well at Augusta, but here he is. He's won multiple times on the DP World Tour. He's playing well again this week, and he is, when I talk about comfortable, he's very comfortable, Rick. At 20-1 to win this golf tournament, I would put Reed somewhere right in the middle of this pack, not the guy with the worst odds besides Maverick McNeely and Matty Schmidt.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that I really liked coming into the week, not necessarily to win the golf tournament, but like to play well, to contend. And there's a few reasons why, and it's actually been better than I thought. You know, if this was going to get to 20 under par, I wouldn't have liked Patrick Reed's chances as much. The fact that this has been firm and fast and almost like a creativity contest where you have to hit a shot shape, and you've got to control your spin, and you've got to kind of visualize where your ball is going to land and then where it's going to end up. The undulation that we're seeing on and around the greens, you know, is really the only thing close to it is really Augusta National. Obviously, Patrick Reed has solved the puzzle around Augusta National. So I think there are a lot of things about this golf course, the way that it's playing out, the way that it's probably going to play out on Sunday, where that plays into his hands, where he's not a bomber, but he's going to get the benefit of the roll off the tee. You know, he's not really elite at anything. He's just an elite dog, and he is like not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, strokes gained to moxie. Totally right there with you. I love how you said how creativity has been such a lynch point for up till this point. He's gained 1.6 strokes around the greens today, and he's been gaining over 5 strokes on approach for the week. So that's just kind of his profile. This course is playing right into Patrick Reed's hands, and he's not afraid of it. I think the more people on Sunday, that just fires him up more and makes him lock in. And I think with how hot it's supposed to get tomorrow, if these greens get baked out and we see more Donald Ross runoffs, give me the guy with maybe the most tactical, creative short game in the world. So especially with that number, I mean, he's 3 shots back at 20-1. That's something I would pick up for my ticket for sure.
Patrick Reed for a top 5 in ties is plus 225. That could be a good bet. If you don't like numbers that short, we're going to have you swing for the fences here. If you like any of these, I put these 6 players on here just to kind of whet your appetite and to get the conversation going. There's other players you could bet for top 5 to make a move. I started with guys who basically were 2 under par, Justin Rose, Minwoo Lee, and then down to Justin Thomas at even par. So for context, these guys are, Justin Rose is within a shot of top 5 in ties, and Justin Thomas is within 3 shots of top 5 in ties. Anybody on this board, Rick, that you like that have really good odds for tomorrow for the public?
Well, there's so many great names here, but the one that I really focus on is Sam Burns. And I think at this point where you are like, you're going to need to go out and shoot something pretty low. You're going to have to, I don't want to say have the rounds of the day, but something close. And for me, Burns, who did that last Sunday, right? Who went out and went nuts last Sunday to kind of move up the leaderboard, has the distance off the tee to matter, but he's also this combination that we've talked about at times earlier this week of approach and putting. Approach and putting is a very high upside combo. We saw him play well on here on Saturday, where he was 3 under, and that was when he gave up 2 shots late on 17 and 18 to close out his rounds. I think he is certainly capable of making 5 or 6, maybe 7 birdies in a given round. I don't know how many he's going to give back, but I like the firepower to move up the board, and he would be the one that I would focus in on the most.
Yeah, I like Brooks Koepka a lot at this number. I know his putting has kind of been weighing him down a bit this season, but I love the profile that he brings with the ball striking and just his maturity on this major championship stage. He's got 3 PGA championships. He's very comfortable when the Watermaker Trophy's up for grabs. And he's a guy who he kind of had his bad round today. So I'm looking for kind of a bounce back out of him tomorrow. He's in a very good spot. not a lot of guys around him where he can really rise up into that top 5. Rick, I wanted to ask you, yesterday you brought up JT. So I went out today for about an hour and a half. JT had just tied the lead. I get down. There's this beautiful spot here on the course where you can see the 8th green and the 10th green. Posted up there for a little bit. As soon as I got within about 400 yards of JT, he made 4 bogeys in a row. So I don't know what happened there, but I'm kind of sick of just seeing this from my guy.
It's very clear. You just don't get anywhere near JT. Like, what are you doing? This is all on you.
I am sick of seeing this from my guy.
I mean, realistically, the problem is the wayward driver. We've talked about it earlier this week, guys, how easy it is to make bogey here, and kind of 4 straight holes. He's, missing off the tee, putting himself in an awkward scenario, and then just not able to get up and down or not able to escape with a par. And just in the blink of an eye, it's not a lot of doubles around here. It's just paper cuts everywhere. You look up, you've made 4 straight bogeys, and now it's like, wow, I don't know how I'm going to get all these back. So very, very disappointing stretch there from JT.
Yeah, I mean, that 8th hole, I think there's only 3 birdies on it all day. They had that pin absolutely tucked on the front left, and then 10's been hard all week. But to come away from 9 with a bogey, that's the easiest hole on the course, or the 6. That's just a place you got to get done. So it's kind of sad to see him. We would have liked to have him be a little bit more of a factor going in on Sunday.
Hey, if you want JT at a better number, a more realistic number, top 10 would be 5-1. You can maybe go for that one. How about players with bigger odds for top 10 and ties again, Jimmy? This list is guys who are a bunch of even par. Then you got Jordan Spieth, and I put Matt Fitzpatrick on here because he feels like the kind of guy who everyone picked this week. A lot of people picked this week, and then all of a sudden shoots a 64 on Sunday to sneak into the top 10 and catch that 32-1. Probably not going to happen, but is there anybody on this board that you potentially like for a top 10 ties?
Yeah, I like Siwoo Kim at that 5-1 number for sure. I think he's been kind of hanging around these leaderboards all year. He's had one of the best years of his career, and kind of again had his slip up today and can creep back into contention maybe on Sunday. I'm staying very far away from Jordan Spieth. I can't do that for my blood pressure. But Andrew Novak is another one who I think has had a really steady week. He's been creeping back into contention recently. Steven Yeager, again, shout out for the 18 pars, but kind of slipped up today. It felt like that his week has been a little unsustainable, so I'm going to stay off that one.
Rick, don't tell me Spieth's your guy.
Yeah, I'll take up the Jordan Spieth mantle. Somebody's got to do it.
Someone's got it.
Yeah, good point.
The interesting thing about Jordan Spieth is, before the Masters, he was telling us that he was hitting it the best he ever has, and the stats were backing that up. That was very much true. Now, he kind of struggled immediately after he said that, which is of course the curse of Jordan Spieth. However, for this week, he's back to kind of flushing it, right? He's 10th in the field from strokes gained tee to green. He's top 20 in both off the tee and approach play as well. This is such an interesting thing where he's a lot longer than you think he is. The rest of his the only thing he's struggling with is the putter. It looks miserable, and to think that Jordan Spieth can't putt is almost hard to rewire my brain into that mindset. So I'm still a believer in the stats. I'm still a believer that with a slightly earlier tee time than some of these other guys at even par, he might grab himself an extra hour or two of better conditions and go out and make a run at this thing with absolutely nothing to lose.
You just can't quit him. He's gonna keep getting one. He's gonna keep getting someone.
He's a drug for sure.
Keep telling yourself that. As long as you can admit that he's a drug, it's all that matters to you, right? It's the awareness that matters. Okay, we're gonna say goodbye here in a second. Scottie Scheffler, got to talk about him before we go. 17-1 to win the golf tournament. Scottie doesn't have it. We know it. He's shown it. Whenever he's been off in the last 6 months, Rick, he's been off. However, there's been plenty of times where Scottie Scheffler has just turned it on and made a run. He's going to tee off about 2 hours before everybody else-ish. They're not out yet for tee times. What do you think? He's got to go 3 under in his first 6 holes to have a chance?
Yeah, the front 9 is so critical. And also, he is the only guy in this field that, if he can turn in 3 under or something like that, everybody who hasn't teed off yet is going to know it. And you've got Alex Smalley, Matty Schmid, Aaron Rye, guys of this who are looking back like, oh boy, this isn't going to be easy. And the fact that Alex Smalley is 2 clear, and then Scottie is 3 back of second, I think is pretty important. The problem with Scottie is, he needed to make like 2 of those 6 putts that he had from 7 feet and in or something like that. If he makes 2 of those today, it's probably still him as the favorite. But it's very unlikely to happen. But he can put a little fear in the rest of everybody's hearts if he can turn in 3 under. That would be pretty slick.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up the fear. I think we kind of saw that with the final group when Rory was up there, right as they were teeing off. They probably looked up at that leaderboard and went, oh, man, here we go. And then, Mav didn't make a birdie till the back. Alex Smalley came out and made some bogeys. But there's definitely some leaderboard gravity there. I'm on the other side. I think that today was kind of Scottie's stinker. Yes, the putter's been bad this week, but, he made a big bogey putt on 18 there. So I think he's got a little momentum. I think him and Ted can figure it out for Sunday. I don't think any of us would be shocked if he goes out there and puts up a 65, and he's right up there in the mix of things, especially if, we have a situation like today where the wind kicks up or it gets really hot and the greens get baked out. So I'm not totally ready to throw in the towel, Scottie.
All right, everybody, good luck with your bets. Jimmy, safe travels back from Pennsylvania. Rick, thanks for being with us all week long.
Thank you, guys.